the reaction that business owners have when they truly understand what their culture is versus what they think it is. They're always shocked. Apple and Google, they also have it right. Apple has an unbelievable culture of fanatic fans all over the planet. Hi, this is Barry Saltzman and welcome to Culture Shock. Today I have the pleasure of having Betsy Rowbottom with me, who works with The Good Jobs up in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Barry.
So today we're going to talk about culture.
Yeah.
And I know you and your organization are doing some really cool things, trying to make culture more transparent, to help businesses attract, hire good people, as well as for good people to know about these great companies.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little about yourself and how you got into this line of business?
Sure. It kind of started, I worked for a recruiting company. They used to be called Pinstripe, they're now called CLO. And what we saw with even really large companies with great, big, huge consumer brands that everybody knows, they still didn't really effectively communicate what their culture was. So we know that Google and Zappos has done that for years, and they're very transparent about how they invest in their employees. But a lot of companies, big companies and small companies, are really challenged to kind of tell their story and differentiate themselves to a job seeker, so the job seeker really understands who they are and knows if they would be a good fit and they should apply.
So what type of company do you typically focus on? Is it the medium part of the market?
Yeah, so companies with hiring need, so that is lots of companies, lots of different sizes, yep, hopefully everybody. So we really focused on, that small to medium sized company. However, we've worked with a number of large companies as well because our solution really works in all different environments. Zappos was an early adopter of our solution, and they have a little less than 2,000 employees. So really companies that see culture as a competitive advantage are our best customer.
Great, so you talk about culture being transparent. Why is transparency important in terms of hiring great talent? So
transparency is really important because talent actually, it's been my experience when I've been onboarded into a new company, I learn about who that company is. And if you think about when you buy a car, you don't buy a car because it has 4 tires and windows and a steering wheel. You buy it because it has heated seats and it has leather and it has turbo. I mean, as consumers, we're expected to do our research and find out all the features and benefits of any product before we make our purchase. And unfortunately for job seekers, they're really not communicated with and told what are the features and benefits of this organization. So what we do is help a company to be able to describe that better. If you think about a job posting that says, we're an equal opportunity employer, we have a 401k match, that doesn't really give insight into where this studio is. You're in a very urban environment, what the unique things about that employer, what they do for their employees, training and development, flex time, all of those kinds of things are so usually not communicated very well, and an employee kind of finds out about them, stumbles upon them when they're already working there. And we want to reverse that. We think that that's wrong. We think that there's a way to communicate and differentiate themselves as an employer of choice and really lead with all that great stuff.
So why has culture become like the word of the year? 3-4 years ago, no one mentioned culture. Today, everybody talks about culture. What took place in the marketplace?
Well, I think Google took place in the marketplace. I think that was a big reason that I think a lot of companies are using the word culture. And you're right, it's a huge word. Every company says we have a great culture. And the problem is what does that mean? I have a great sense of humor. What does that mean? So we all are a little bit different, and so culture actually has to be communicated so that we understand. It's not to say that they don't have great culture, but someone's great culture to one person might not be the same for another person. So the Good Job solution really looks to quantify culture and make it, like you said, more transparent, open that door to a job seeker so that they understand this is what I'm going to get if I apply for this job. This is what I'm going to get if I work at this organization.
So when you apply your tool to the company and take a look at their culture, give me an example of when it's really gone well. What benefit does the business get?
So we did a pilot with Zappos before we started working with them, and the goal was to kind of A/B test a job posting. So job postings are very well written in some companies and very poorly written in others. I would say that Zappos are pretty well written. They're very thorough, they're playful, they certainly let their personality show. But the goal was to actually show that by even being more transparent with culture, that we would get a higher conversion rate. A person who looked at a job posting who actually applied. And in fact, the pilot did exactly what we wanted it to do, what we thought it would do. So by showcasing the job posting, which is all the qualifications in order to fulfill the duties of the job, that was the first one. The second one had exactly the same content, but with the Good Jobs culture badges into the job posting. So a candidate could actually click on the job, onto the culture badges, and learn what Zappos does in terms of how they invest in their employees and in their community. And we found that there was a 13% higher conversion rate from an applicant who actually saw job posting B and clicked on the culture badges and then actually applied.
Interesting. So what attributes of culture seem to be the most interesting or relevant to the marketplace today?
So,
and we'll talk about millennials later, because there's a question about millennials.
Yeah, I was going to say millennials are sort of definitely on I think in the foremost in most CEOs' minds about how to attract millennials. But really, every generation wants to have a connection to their organization and feel mission aligned. So I would say volunteerism is one of those things that has really spiked in terms of companies doing more in terms of reaching out to their communities, having formalized volunteering programs within the company. Flex time, because we all work all the time. Flex time is a really big movement that's happening. Companies are getting more savvy about how to measure performance instead of clocking in at 8 and leaving at 5, and actually helping employees to have more flexibility. So as long as you're getting your work done, you can be off the clock, and we know that you're going to check your email at 10 o'clock at night and do a little work later. So I would say those two things, that mission alignment is really important, and probably flex time are the two that we see overwhelmingly.
So companies that have some unique or cool culture elements, you're helping them identify that, bring it out, make it part of the recruiting process, so that hopefully the ideal candidate comes along and says, I'm a perfect fit for this culture.
Right.
Or I'm not.
Yeah, we don't want to spend a lot of time with the candidate who on day one says, you have dogs at work?
Right.
I didn't know this. I don't think this is a good place for me to be. So actually being transparent about everything, very early in the process, and letting a candidate, like you said, self-select out. We don't want to spend 8 weeks courting them and romancing them and spending a lot of time on them if ultimately they're going to reject the offer.
Right. The cost of a mistake is not good for either side, right?
Totally, yep.
Okay. So what triggers, I'm assuming you're selling this mostly to the business owners or to HR within a bigger business.
Yeah.
What's the event or the trigger for them to all sit and say, wow, I need to talk to Betsy, what she has is cool?
So lots of different things. I would say companies that are really proud of their culture and learn about what we're doing are a natural fit, and they can see the opportunity to communicate it better. I would say, in the last couple years, we've seen a lot of companies that are starting to see the talent market really dry up, and the post and pray, putting a job posting out there and getting kind of the Walking Dead, they realize they have to change and really adapt their strategy. So I would say, the companies that are reaching out for us right now, the two are those really strong culture companies. Zappos is a good example. But really, we work with a lot of companies that are, little financial services companies that you've never heard of. But when we reveal all these amazing things that they do, they're so excited to communicate them. So I'd say, kind of number one, proud of culture. Number two, willingness and desire to communicate it better.
So why wouldn't someone want to do this? You go and meet with people all the time and talk about your product. Why do they not want to do this?
That is a question I ask myself all the time.
Other than dollars, is there any other reason why they wouldn't want to do this?
So I would say the reason sometimes that companies feel nervous is that they don't like being transparent. Is there a way to be transparent without being transparent? No.
So they're afraid to...
I think, a little nervous to kind of pull back the curtain. Right. They're not sure if they, will stack up. But again, we kind of look at it as glass half full. reveal everything that you do.
Because they're going to find out anyhow.
Exactly,
And then
they're going to find out
leave,
anyhow.
both sides lose.
Exactly,
Right,
yeah.
Okay.
And I think they'd be surprised. What we find over and over in all the companies that we've worked with over the past 2 years since we launched, they always find so many reasons to feel proud of what they do. It's actually not the fear of, we don't stack up. It's actually completely the opposite. It's, wow, we do all this great stuff, and now I'm excited to have a channel and a way to communicate it better.
Right. Does the customer get involved at all in the seeking of information about culture when you look at your customer's customer? Or are you just looking internally to the organization?
So we work within our customers' recruitment marketing channels. So we ourselves are not a job board. Thegoodjobs.com, we don't deliver candidates in that sort of traditional way. Where we can make an impact is actually working within their existing recruiting channels. So for companies that have a career site that doesn't say very much, we've all seen kind of the tab on the header that says careers. You click on it and it says, we're looking for smart, hardworking people.
Right.
Inquire within. That's our perfect candidate where we can actually help them to communicate, well, here's all the reasons that a message to give to a candidate when you have successfully gotten them to your page. We want to convert them. We want them to find all the information that they need in order to make the next step. So I wouldn't say that we kind of are candidate facing, though ultimately our product is for that purpose.
Right. So time to hire and retention are obviously critical metrics.
Mm-hmm.
Help them get the right person
Mm-hmm.
who is a perfect match for their culture that stays there forever.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
So let's get back to millennials.
Mm-hmm.
Great topic. What do millennials want?
What do millennials
What do millennials want?
They want everything. They were raised on Google, and so they want the cool, fun company with lots of great perks, and they want alignment with projects and causes that they're passionate about. They want a certain amount of autonomy. So, I mean, if you think about, I wasn't raised with a parent that worked 24/7. There was a very defined sort of work schedule for my parents. They don't know that. Their parents
Your dad wasn't tweeting?
No, maybe he was tweeting, but it wasn't the same thing. No, I think that, candidates today, I think grew up, or millennials rather, grew up with watching their parents with no separation between work and home. They were doing conference calls at 8 o'clock at night. They were checking their smartphones for emails. So I think this alignment, it has never been stronger for millennials to feel like, well, I can't leave my values at the door. I can't be someone different for 8 hours because there is no such thing as 8 hours anymore. It's a continuum. So I think, millennials really, really want to understand who a company is and feel passionately about what they do, not just the duties of the job that they will be good at, but actually how can they impact the world with what the company is doing and how can they be a part of that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I read there was a division of a large consulting company published some stats 2 weeks ago saying 95% of candidates are more interested in culture than compensation, which I can tell you is significantly different than 15 years ago.
Yeah.
The first question out of their mouth is not how much does this job pay.
What's the culture?
Which so you help companies in that particular space.
Yeah, we help the companies that want that 95%.
Right, exactly.
And the 5% that's only going to work for a paycheck, those people will also find jobs. The problem is that 95% that really want to know what culture is at an organization, when they don't find it, meaning they go to a career site and they don't see anything about it, or they use euphemisms like we're family friendly or we work hard, play hard, it's very difficult for anyone to understand what that means. So the solution that we came up with the Good Jobs is to actually quantify the programs, perks, amenities, everything a company does to reveal culture. I've worked at companies where they said we had a great learning culture.
What does that mean?
Yeah, okay, sure. I like learning. What does that mean? It means to them, it meant they had stipends for people to actually participate in conferences that they would research and actually share with the group what they learned at the conference. So they did have a great learning culture, but I need to understand what that means, and it has to be quantified in a really simple way that I can understand. So conferences, some of the questions that we ask are, what kind of training and development do you offer hourly employees? What kind of training and development do you offer management level? And usually companies have a really good idea. Like, we know that we do 20 hours of onboarding of hourly employees. Well, let's talk about that so that a person who really wants to learn and knows that they're going to get a significant amount of training, let's reveal that way before they apply.
Clarity and transparency. What a concept.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it sounds like you've got a great company doing some cool stuff. So you've got all these business owners out there that are worried about finding people, worried about finding the right people. What advice would you give them? So, what are your thoughts on that as advice to a business owner?
Sure. So our process, we've made it really simple and streamlined, but really what we're talking about, any company can do. I mean, look at your career site. What does it reveal? And if you didn't know anything about the company, would you apply for your jobs? I think that there's a movement going on where companies, like you said, they understand the value of culture, but I think we have to be really reflective about being more transparent and really quantifying all these unique things about your company. Our process takes about 4 hours, so we can actually do it really quickly in a SWAT team sort of working session way to actually get all this great information out. But even though our process is proprietary, the questions that we're asking aren't.
Right.
So really, I think companies can do this on their own to actually learn. They kind of know it, but they don't know how to communicate it.
Right, so you're taking this thing called culture, you're tying it right into a business process, and you're helping the company get great people.
That's the goal.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming in, and
Thanks.
Betsy did a good job. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Barry.